For this session, we're going to talk more so about generating those listings. So like, where are those opportunities actually coming from and how can we create more of them? A really great saying in the industry is list to last. And what that means is if you get listings, it's easier to have a lot more longevity in your career because you're doing a lot less of the hustle and bustle of touring with buyers. You have a lot more of the business coming to you in your generating listings. And then also when you have listings, you also start getting what we call promotional business. So people start seeing your name on the signs and they start seeing your names on the listings and people start coming to you. For example, Melissa just had somebody come up to her because they saw her listing on Paseo and they said, hey, we want to buy on Highway 68. We saw your listing video. We would love to work with you. And so they're out, she's out touring with them today, $2.5 million houses. So really gives you that position where people can start coming to you because you're having natural marketing and attraction towards your brand, your name, your face. And that is really what's going to create that longevity in your career. So we'll talk today about how to get more of those opportunities. So the first question I want to pose to everybody is now a good time to sell? So Brandon, what do you think? Is now a good time to sell?
Yeah, it's always a good time to sell. Just depends on their situation.
I love it. I love it. Stacy, is now a good time to sell?
Yes, it is.
How come?
Similar to what Brandon said, is always a good time to sell, depending on the situation. And when you have a good real estate agent, they make it easy for you.
Yeah, there we go. If you have a good agent, it's always a good time. What about you, Ethan? Do you think now is a good time to sell?
I think now's a great time to sell.
Perfect. Why do you think it's a good time to sell now?
I mean, like I said, depending on the situation and what's going on, I think, if you need, depending on if you want to move someplace, if you need the cash, depends on what you want to do with it. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I love the positivity, and that's really what I was hoping for from everybody. It was a very positive reaction to whether or not it's a good time to sell. Think about your language and the way that you communicate to people, and that's going to have a lasting impact on them. So whether it's a neighbor coming into an open house that you're holding, or somebody that you meet at a baseball, one of your kids' baseball or soccer games, if you have a very positive energy about the market and a positive outlook on how the market's going, people are going to be more attracted to hear what you have to say. If you're all doom and gloom and complaining, then people are going to naturally see you as somebody who's the negative type of person and not want to do a home listing with you. And so now when somebody says, is now a good time to sell, when I think about it to myself, not what I'm supposed to say, but am I actually reflecting on it? The question I always like to ask myself for these type of things is, compared to what, right? Because compared to the height of the market in 2021, maybe not. Was it as good as then? Maybe not, but it's a lot better than it was yesterday. And it's a lot better than it was 5 years ago. And I have an illustration to show you guys compared to what 5 years ago. So these are percent changes in home prices across the entire country for the past 5 years. And by the way, this infographic is from Keeping Current Matters. If you guys aren't already following them on Instagram and Facebook and those guys, definitely start following them and check out their website. They also have an app. They put out great infographics that you can utilize on your social media that have really, really amazing data. They also do monthly market updates and things like that, and are really good at always spinning things to be at our vantage point, right? Because it's always who are you asking? Who are you asking this question to? What's their vantage point? What's beneficial to them? How would they answer that? So if you look at what applies to us here in California, since 2000 and I guess it'd be Q4 2017, California has experienced 50.1% increase in home prices. 50% increase in appreciation. That means in November of 2022, October, November of 2022 or 2017, excuse me, if your home was worth $1 million, in Q4 on average now in 2022, it's worth $1.5 million. You've gained $500,000 for just living in your property. It's pretty amazing. So anybody who's a homeowner over that 5-year period has made $100,000 per year in equity. That's an incredible story to tell people, an incredible conversation piece to have. If somebody's down and gloomy about how the market is, your home is appreciated 100K every year for the past 5 years. Is it really so bad? Look at other states though. Look at Idaho. Idaho's had a 104% increase. They've doubled their home values. Florida down here, 85.1%. And the national average is 58.4. So really, really incredible home appreciation that everybody's experienced over the last 5 years. So there's no reason to really be down about your home value these days, because you've hit the lottery almost like this. Like, what other thing can you do to do no work and make that type of money? The other side of this coin is inventory. So we're in this super, super low inventory market, right? And this is a great illustration. This one's from realtor.com that shows this. So inventory was really bad all during the pandemic, 2020, 2021, and 2022. But the amount of homes being published was kind of in line with what the history was. 2019, you see the exact same numbers, and then 2017 and 18, just slightly more, barely more than those years. Now, the homes were just coming off the market really quickly in 2020 through 2022. And now here in 2023, we're sitting with about 30% less homes hitting the market, between 20 and 30% less hitting. In our specific markets, we're above those numbers. We're sometimes above 30% in some of our markets that we're in. Because inventory is so tight, because there are so few homes on the market, anybody who's considering listing their home has increased that equity and has less homes to compete with. So naturally, their home is going to sell at a higher price and in a quicker rate just by simple supply and demand. All right, so I want to talk through a couple of statistics on home sales as well. And I'm going to ask you guys what you guys think about these. So the typical home seller was 60 years old. So if we think about these statistics in terms of lead generation, what do you think we should be thinking about if we know that the typical home seller is 60 years old?
Well, if the typical home seller is 63 years old, we could tell them about cap gains and how they could, because of all of that, those laws, they actually get to keep their tax bracket. So that's something that is beneficial and that they're going to be selling soon.
Yeah. So Jen's referencing Prop 19 and being able to transfer their taxes. So like what she's getting at though here is like her talk tracks, her mindset, who she's targeting is going to be in line with who the typical home seller is. So our person who just bought last year and is 35 with a newborn baby is not the typical home seller. You know, these people stay in their homes a little bit longer, raise their families through there. And then people, when they have their empty nest situation, that's when they typically will downsize. Now, what about 63% found their agent through a referral? What does that make you think, Ethan?
That referrals are probably the best opportunity to get new clients.
Nailed it. 2 out of 3 people who list their home found their agent through referral. So that means your sphere of influence and past clients are more important than ever. 39% of people use the same agent to purchase. And then if they were buying a home within 10 miles of where they already lived, 85% of them use the same agent. So what does this tell you, Joey?
I mean, we were kind of going over that in the beginning, really make a good impression, especially at the beginning. Try to really win them over and show them just how ready you are to go ahead and sell for them.
Yeah, that's really great stuff.
Follow up with your clients, your past clients.
Follow up with your past clients. Yeah, what else? What else did it tell you?
I would assume that if you have 85% for people who purchase within 10 miles of their current home, and obviously shows a lot of following in your area, but then if there's only 40% using the same agent to purchase, then they probably a lot of out of town or people moving from other areas, I would assume.
Yeah, exactly. So 85% of people, if they were buying within 10 miles, they use the same agent for the list and the sell. So that means your buyers are a great source of listings. If you have a local buyer who's buying in the same city they already live in, they're probably going to sell as well, 85% of the time. And then 39% of them are going to be, and then that means 61% of people have been moving 10 miles away from themselves. So that's a pretty dramatic stat. I thought that was pretty eye-opening that only 39% of people are on that side. Okay, the next one, 80% of sellers only contacted one agent. Cassie, what does that tell you?
That they've worked with the first agent that they meet.
Exactly. And so it doesn't have to be so scary, right? If you get a meeting with 5 people for 5 listing appointments, 4 of them are going to only interview you. 4 of them are going to go with you because they're going to contact one person, meet them, be like, you know what, this sounds good, and move forward. 4 out of 5 of them. So it doesn't have to be so scary. If you're a newer agent, you don't have to be so worried about quality. You don't have to be so worried about going up against other agents. You have to make sure you have speed to lead and go and make a good impression. And 80% of the time, you're going to get that business. Sellers on average lived in homes for 10 years. What do you think, Diego?
The first thing I think is like, look at homes that sold 10 years ago and then start prospecting.
Boom. Gold mine of homes is homes that were bought more than 10 years ago, because we know they're going to return to the mean. They're going to return to the average. So usually people are going to live in there for 10 years. The past average was 7 years. This year in 2022, it moved up to 10 years. So people are staying in their homes a little bit longer than before. You can download data of people who've lived in their homes for 10 or more years and start marketing to those people. 64% of buyers from pandemic wish they bought a different home or waited longer. Melissa, what do you think that one says? Well, what does that one tell you?
Oh, that we have a huge pool of transplants from the Bay Area and so on that are already, now that they've had time to settle in here, they already have their eye on the next home. And that anyone purchasing during the pandemic is a great target to grass is greener on the other side of, the peninsula.
Yeah. 2 out of 3 people felt pressured and they just went for it because it was the first thing they could get. And 2 out of 3 of them didn't love it. 2 out of 3 of them didn't love it. And they're not thrilled with their home. So that, right? So we have people that lived there more than 10 years and people who just bought in the last couple. Great targets, because we know 2 out of 3 of them are unhappy. Yeah, Austin.
I was going to say that'd be another kind of demographic to target, is people who purchased within the last 3 years, because they'll have buyer's remorse. So they'll be selling and buying, especially if interest rates come down a bit.
That's exactly it. If interest rates come down a little bit, I guarantee you those people are going to be moving, because they're going to want to get to a home that fits their situation a little bit better. Remember, people buy and sell homes because of the 6 Ds: divorce, diapers, diplomas, all those different things. They don't buy because of prices and interest rates. So when life happens to them, they're going to move anyways. But this 2/3 that is unhappy, they're just waiting for it to make sense, and they're going to pull the trigger. And the last one is the new listings are down nationally, which means we're in a low inventory market. So we already kind of went over that one. So kind of think about these things as you start to meet with people, as you start to target who you're going to talk to. It's not so scary, and there are specific demographics that you can target that you'll have a better chance of success at. Austin, where did your first ever listing come from?
Open house. They purchased it, but they ended up selling it a year later.
So past client. Melissa,
Yeah.
where did your first listing come from?
Mommy.
So sphere of influence. Stacy, where did your first listing come from?
Sphere of influence, and I guess an open house, a house purchase.
Yeah. And then they became a past client, right? Too. So you kind of both.
Mm-hmm.
Jen, where did your first listing come from?
Past client.
Past client. Diego, I don't know yours, but fingers crossed.
My first buyers.
Your first buyer, so past client.
Yeah.
Guys, my first listing was for my sphere of influence. Every single person on the call today that's had a listing got their first client for a listing from their past client's sphere of influence. So what does it mean? Work your sphere, stay in contact with your past clients. This is where all of the money's made on listings. You start gaining past clients, and then you get people in your database to follow up with, and they soon become sellers, and your sellers become buyers, and then they become referrals. And it's an ongoing cycle. It's exactly why we buy online leads for brand new agents, is to get you guys in there, getting those past clients, and you can start this cycle, get them wheels moving on this cycle. So a great hack for getting in contact with your sphere of influence and your past clients about this is this right here on the screen. So I took a screenshot of a property on Zillow. And so you basically take a screenshot of your phone of a property of one of your past clients or somebody who's in your sphere, and send them a text message with a copy of the screenshot, and then say, hey, I was thinking about you today. I was on Zillow and I saw your home. I've got my opinion on this price. What do you think? Do you think people are going to engage in that? Yeah, people love to know what their home value is and debate it and all those type of things. And it's that part of real estate like that everybody loves to talk about. If you like have ever been at like a little kid sporting event when you have all the people around or at a family dinner or something like that, you start talking about home values and mortgages. Everyone all of a sudden has an opinion and all of a sudden is an expert on these type of things. And they love to talk about it. They love to talk about why their home is worth this and why another one down the street that just sold is better or worse or whatever. And if you ever have had at an open house, the neighbors come in, you see the same experience. They start comparing everything in that home to their own. And so what they're really doing is they're mentally checking their home value. And they love to hear what the professionals think. And many people put a lot of stock in Zillow, and a lot of people think that Zillow is full of it. And so like that is a great conversation starter. And that's really our goal with all of these things is like get into the conversation with people of what their home values are, and then get the agreement that you can keep them up to date on what their home values are. Because you don't want them going to Zillow to check their Zestimate for their home value. You want them emailing and texting you for that checkup. It's just the same as people love checking their 401k portfolio. People love checking their stocks, things like that. Everybody wants to see where their home value is at. Doesn't necessarily mean they're going to sell today, but it means you can get them in and do a nurturing process where that one day when they do sell or they are thinking about doing something, they're coming to you for that advice. All right, seller leads. I was hoping Kevin was going to be here today, but he just texted me, couldn't make it. But I'll pose it to somebody else. All right, Spencer, how much do you think you would pay for a home seller lead who was willing to sell their home?
$2,500.
$2,500. Nice. Melissa, how much do you think you would spend for somebody who would who's a seller who you know wanted to sell their house in the next like 3 months?
Yeah, I mean, $5,000 if it was a guarantee.
5,000. Nice. What about you, Jen?
I think sellers give so much business through open housing and everything that I don't really know if you could put a price on it.
Wow. Unlimited price. Guess what, guys? We have this. We have people who have raised their hand that they want to sell their home, and it doesn't cost anything to get these leads. These are expired leads. An expired or canceled listing is somebody who's raised their hand, put their home on the open market with an agent. So they've demonstrated they see the value in working with an agent, and they have attempted to sell their home. And for one reason or another, they were unsuccessful at it. Now, of course, we do have the expired and canceled sellers that listed their price at ridiculous prices, and it was never realistic to begin with. They were just kind of throwing up a prayer. So I'm not really referring to those people, but the people who put it up for a reasonable price, maybe just like 5% too high, those people are still really, really great sellers. And so where we can find these people is if we go on MLS, you have the Market Watch. And we have both a listing expired category and a listing canceled category. So if you click on those on your MLS dashboard, you can get the addresses of all the people with these expired and canceled listings. And then if you take that information over to Forewarn, you can then look up who these homeowners are with their phone numbers and reach out to them. So now this is an easy way to get leads for home sellers that don't cost you anything. It just costs you a little phone call, a little bit of work to get them. And then once we get the new VA system implemented, we're in the process of implementing a new VA system. It'll be up and running in the next week and a half. We're going to start having all expired listings per market uploaded onto Sierra Interactive in ponds. So you guys at any time will be able to go through and call through these ponds. My favorite ones to call through right now aren't the ones that just expired. They're the ones that expired 4 to 6 months ago. So if you think about it, back in like November, December time, we were in a really tough market. Interest rates had just shot up really, really quickly, and everybody was really scared, not wanting to make a move. Everyone was a little bit worried about what was happening. So not a lot of homes sold in November, December, but some homes still got listed. So those people who listed in November and December still want to sell their homes. They just don't think they can because the market told them they couldn't in November and December. But you guys have all seen it firsthand. We have people putting homes into contract hand over fist this in the last 3 months because people are now ready to buy again. People have accepted the interest rates for what they are, and people are ready to get active again. So calling on expireds from 4 to 6 months ago is a gold mine. When you call a person with an expired listing, there's a little bit of a mindset that you want to enter when you go to call these people. So what do you think sellers are feeling right now after they've had a home just expire? What do you think, Joey?
What are sellers feeling right now?
What are sellers thinking if they just had a home put on the market in the last 4 to 6 months and it didn't sell?
I mean, they're stressed out. It's
stressed.
like
Yeah.
been sitting. So obviously they're probably like, what do we do now? You know?
Exactly. They're stressed, they're shamed, they're angry, they're frustrated.
Needed.
They hate agents. Like they're coming from a place of great frustration because they've heard for the last 2 to 3 years how hot this market is. And they feel like they just missed it. And everything is negative and everything about the real estate market to them at this point. They have plans to move. They have plans to invest in something. They want to buy a boat, whatever it is that they're trying to do. And the market and agents are stopping them from being able to do this. So they're very, very upset. So it seems a little intimidating to call these people, right? Because you like already know you're walking into like a lion's den. You're already walking into somewhere where you know there's a lot of anxiety and anguish. So how should you handle this? What do you think, Marissa? How should you handle this?
I would say figuring out why they think their last agent failed, maybe focusing on like from the forward, focusing on their dream, like why they originally wanted to sell and get back to that mindset.
Really good. You've called expireds before, haven't you? So what we need to do is turn it into a counseling session. And the best way to do that is let them vent. Let them vent, get them to open up. Just let them roll because they need to get it out and they're not going to trust you because you're an agent until you let them say their piece. Remember, they don't like you because you're an agent. They see you as the person who's preventing them from getting their dreams that Marissa just mentioned. So we want to focus on how we can get them there. But first we need to let them pour out how they can't get there. Once you get on the same side as them, then you can help them self-realize what went wrong. And you can do that by asking great questions. So I saw your home had come off the market and I was reaching out because I was wondering if you're still planning to sell your home. It's really simple. Almost all the time, they're still planning on selling. They just don't feel like they can anymore. They're defeated. So you're there to give them a new opportunity. And then like Marissa said, you want to get them to open up. So tell me about that. What happened? In your opinion, why didn't this home sell? And they'll start giving you all the reasons. And every reason they give you is all the ammo for your future listing presentation. It's all the ammo you need for the reason why they're going to meet with you. So they're going to give you everything that you need to present yourself as a great option to get them, for them to get what they want. Ask for the specifics and really turn it into a counseling session. Don't let it be like the facts, like it didn't sell because I was priced too high or because we listed in November. Like ask them follow-up questions on those and really get down to like how it made them feel when they did those things so they can start to trust you. You want to really tap into those feelings because they need to let their emotions out before they can open up because they're not going to trust you yet until they've gotten all those things out. And once they've gotten everything out, then that's when you have permission to transition to the home. So help me understand something. If someone were willing to pay you $1.2 million, let's say that was their listing price, would you sell your home? So would they still sell it? Most of the time you're going to get a yes, because that was the goal. Or another way, good question to ask is after they vented is, if you did sell your home, where were you planning to move? So like Marissa said, going back to that motivation, those dreams, what was it they were hoping to accomplish? And then this is my full expired script. I'll send it to everybody after the call. There's 2 different ways to start. I personally like the first one because I'm a high D, so I like being very direct. If you're not, I think probably number 2 is probably going to be more your preference. So I like to say, hi, my name is Kyle. I'm a local realtor in Carmel. I saw your home came off the market. I was calling to see when you plan on interviewing the right agent for the job of selling your home. And so I even point to myself when I say the right agent, because I believe it. I'm doing a physical action to believe I am the right agent that can do the job that the other agent couldn't. And even if you haven't sold a home before, you need to truly believe in that in yourself before you make those calls, because if you don't, they're going to be able to sense it. They're going to be able to sense that doubt, that anxiety, the unsure. But if you are 100% confident that you have a better way for them to do it, then they're going to believe in you as well. And the other way to pose it is, hi, this is Kyle with Real. I noticed your home is no longer in the market. I'm calling to see if you're still having any thoughts of selling the property. And they are. They're still wishing that it sold. And then it goes through the different types of objections that you're going through to get them to talk, and then just getting them to open more. A really common one you're going to get is you agents are all the same, or just like, or another way they phrase that is, where were you when my home was on the market? Things like that. So I like to make a joke out of it. It's like, how do you think I feel? I have to work with these guys every day. And like, you guys know, there are some really, really bad agents out there, and somehow some of them get listings. So it's totally possible they had just somebody who's really, really bad. Also, sometimes they'll say, just bring a buyer. We're taking it off the market, but if you bring us a buyer, we'll entertain it. And if they do, that's great. Do it. Entertain it. Get it, find a buyer and go take them to the home. It's not that hard to find somebody who will go view a home. And if you can't find somebody in your own database, ask the team. Hey, does anybody else? Jen sent a text message in a group text today. She said, hey, did you still have that buyer who's interested in quail? I bet she has a seller who's like thinking about selling, but if she can bring a buyer, they're going to be way more likely. Is that right, Jen? Jen's utilizing her team. She knows other people have opportunities. So you can bring those, you can utilize other people you know, and leverage it and go in to go get that listing. The market is starving for new listings right now. Even other agents in different brokerages are going to be ready to help you because they can't sell homes either because they can't find the homes for their buyers to buy. So everyone's going to be ready to work together on these type of things.
I was just going to say, Jen sent that text this morning, and then I haven't even told her yet, but it got me going because, I've been needing something to bring up with my clients. And the truth is, even if something does not come through with her conversation, she's putting out feelers to see how far she can get her conversation. And then what she doesn't know is she stirred up 4 conversations for me. And now my clients are trying to guess which house it is. And now we're talking again. So I agree. Everyone on the team should constantly just feed each other stuff like that. And I've seen a lot of magical things come out of nothing from those kinds of conversations.
Right. And just people are just scared right now. People don't want to make a big move or put it on the market and then have to deal with what their friends say. Like what other people think of them is driving so much of people's decisions right now in listing and selling their homes. And so if they can do something off market where it's quiet and they can just have their peace and keep it in their own family, people are much more comfortable with that right now just because of the way the media is portraying things. And so really leverage your team and create conversations. And like Melissa said, she has 4 conversations going on now by just tossing out to a couple people like, hey, I might have a seller. And now Jen's going to be able to progress her seller to probably way closer to listing it, because now she can start saying, hey, if these people don't want it, or even if they do want it, you're still going to probably get the highest price if you take it to the open market. So then she has the ability to leverage those buyers into then actually getting a published listing, or she has the ability to close it with those 2 people and make them work together and close there. So really, really powerful if you can pair 2 people together like that. Okay, another great way to find listings is circle prospecting. So the 2 best ways to do that are with just listed and just sold. And so the great thing is these don't have to be your just listed or just sold, and they don't even need to be our team or our brokerage. It could be any property that has a conversation worthy. So one that I like really sticks out in my mind is back towards the end of 2020, there was a home on Yosemite in Seaside. It was a beautiful home with ocean views, and it sold for like $1,080,000. And when it happened, it was like, whoa, what just happened? Because it was the city of Seaside hadn't really ever seen listings in that price range. Usually it was like 800K and lower. So the fact that something sold for over $1 million in that neighborhood was a tremendous conversation piece. And so it didn't matter if you were the agent that sold that or not, because all the neighbors were talking about it already. So you had something that you knew everybody was already really interested in talking about. So anytime you see an outlier in a neighborhood, that's another great way. So like, for example, 111 Austin. If you look at 111 Austin and go do like a CMA report, you probably won't find another property for over like 1.8. So if there's that much disparity, a $1.2 million disparity in the listings of that area, do you think all the neighbors are talking about it? They're talking a lot about it. They're really curious what's going to happen over there. So this is a little flow chart for a just listed. And so it's a great way to handle the conversation. So first, you just let them know that you're a local realtor and they're calling because one of the homes just got listed. It's even better if you know it's coming soon and you can hit them before it hits. Can I tell you what it's listed for? Most people are going to be interested. So they're going to say yes. And you start sharing the specifics. And then you can transition the conversation to what their home is worth. because this listing does directly impact their equity. We all did the CMAs today, and we all know that home values are directly impacted by the sales that take place that are comparable. If they are interested, then you can take them down to LP Mama. And if they're not, you can give them a last ditch effort. There's one last thing I can offer is a free monthly market update. It's an email that would come once a month showing the houses for the sale in your neighborhood. It's really easy for us to set these up. On Sierra, that's what the market update is. So on Sierra, you can go through, put it in a market update, and then you can set in the parameters of the size, location, and all those great things. And automatically on the frequency that you set, it'll send them all the active listings, all the pending listings, and everything that's sold in that time period. It's amazing. And the email is really nice. It's clickable. They can go view more on those properties, and it gives them a ton of data, and it has your name everywhere on it. So they're associating all that data with you. They think you custom made that report for them, and it's all automatically generated by Sierra Interactive. It's really, really great. Same idea with just sold. I think just solds are even better, because then you have something like specific. It's like, hey, this home just sold. Can I get you a CMA to tell you what your home is worth now based upon the sale? So the coming soon is, or the just listed is more like, hey, it's going to change. Sold is, hey, it just changed. Do you want to know how? Same exact talk track and script though. All right. Another great place for listings is farming neighborhoods. Farming a neighborhood is great. Jen and Austin have been farming a specific neighborhood in Pebble Beach. And so the first thing you want to do is target a neighborhood and then start familiarizing everybody with who you are with mailers. So you start getting postcards mailed to them on a regular basis so they can start getting you. And this is kind of a long track trajectory. It's not something you're going to get one mailer and they're going to list with you tomorrow. So you want to get them used to you and slowly introduce the idea. And then you want to go around and door knock to the area so they can start putting a face to the name. And then it's also really important that you only pick one neighborhood, because you want to focus all your efforts into one. You don't want to be spread out across several neighborhoods. You want to become the person who's the local, like, what do they call it? The local mayor for that neighborhood. And so the different ways you can then do it is you can do door knocking, you can do postcards, you can have events. So like if you have an open house or you end up getting a listing, do a huge event there, do a barbecue when the neighbors move in to welcome to the neighborhood, do garage sales, things like that make you like part of that community. And so naturally, it's easiest to do these things also if you already live in that neighborhood. So like Miguel, he's not here today, but that's something he's really taken serious. He door knocks his neighborhood. Like I think once a week he door knocks his neighborhood, and he's gotten listing appointments from it. He hasn't gotten any listings yet, but there's been nobody has sold in his neighborhood. So they haven't listed with somebody else. He's still probably their top choice. And his neighbors are getting to know him as the agent of choice for that area. He's becoming synonymous with a neighborhood as an agent without even having listed a home yet. And then in a door knocking, so when you go door knocking, you want to bring a couple different things with you. You can bring business cards, flyers about the neighborhood. It's great if you bring a single CMA report that applies to everybody, and you can also bring handwritten letters. Jen or Austin, you guys want to share what you guys like to, a script that you guys like to use when you guys go out door knocking?
Basically what we'll say is like, hi, I'm not sure if you got my mailer in the mail, but I'm Jen, this is Austin, and we wanted to take this opportunity to actually come and door knock on your door because we feel like you get tons of mailers and we want to separate ourselves from the other people that we're competing against. And we think it's more blah, 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 and authentic and whatever. And that's why we should be your realtor, basically. That's a summary of it, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of them are like, well, we're not selling or anything. You say, okay, that's no problem, but one day when that time may come, we'd love to be top of mind and stay in touch with you. So, just asking if there's anything we can help with, if they're doing construction, if they need certain vendors, or if they want an appraisal on their home, things like that.
So notice they didn't say like, hey, they aren't going in and saying like, hey, I have a buyer, you want to sell your house tomorrow. They're going in and creating a relationship with these people. So they're taking that long-term approach because they're recognizing these are most likely top of the funnel people because they did not raise their hands. They're going and literally knocking on their doors and asking for business. So most likely these people are going to be not yet thinking about these type of things. But once you put the bug in their mind and they start seeing you around the neighborhood more and more, they're going to start associating selling their home with you. And then when they do have questions, they're probably going to come to you with them. So then another way you can door knock, or just another strategy in general for getting listings, is I have a buyer. Now, this is actually one of my personal favorites of how to solicit listings, because like I said earlier, people are in this state of they don't want to go through the hassle of listing a home. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of inconvenience of people having to come through your home for open houses, prepping it, decluttering it, all those type of things. And a lot of people, if they can have the sure thing right now, they're going to take it with all the hassle. So this is a great letter that can be sent out as direct mail. It's also something that can be printed and handed out as a flyer. Public records indicate that you're the owner. I'm a real estate broker, and I was asking my client to reach out to you. So like, you're putting already the blame on your client, but you're saying like, hey, I work really hard for my clients. So they're going to see you as high value already. And my client desperately is searching to purchase in this neighborhood. They're very interested in buying the property from you. Would you consider it? Please call or text me. And not just like, would you consider selling? It's like, do you have a price in mind that you consider an offer at? So it's like, that way you don't just get a no. It's like well, sure, I would sell it for XYZ. Now, maybe that's a Hail Mary price and that doesn't work today. But if somebody says that gives you a Hail Mary price, that's a nurture seller for you in 2 to 3 years. That's somebody who would entertain the idea if the price were right. And then important is, if you do send these letters out in direct mail, make sure it always has this, this at the bottom is PS. This is not a solicitation for listing. If you already have a listing agent, please forward this to him. California Association of Realtors Ethics, or is it probably National Association of Realtors Ethics, you're not allowed to solicit anybody who has a valid contract. So you just have to make sure you have a disclaimer out there that, hey, I'm not soliciting you if you already have somebody. I'm only soliciting you if you're a free agent. It gives you, it's kind of your get out of jail free card. I have forgotten to get them, and I have gotten some really pissed off agents before. So definitely make sure you do it. They can call you before the ethics board, the local ethics board, if you don't do it. I have a buyer. It's great. Dangling a buyer is a great way to do it. Here's another way of phrasing it is, we know you're getting tons of letters saying they want to buy your home. This is not the purpose. I actually do have a buyer, and this is the exact offer they wrote on another home. So if you go make an offer on a home and it's a multiple offer situation, and they're very common right now, and if you weren't the winner of that offer, take your offer, put the stats on a letter, and start taking it around to the neighbors. Just because it wasn't right for that specific seller doesn't mean it might not be exactly what that other person was looking for. And they say, hey, you know what? I didn't want to go through the hassle of listing my house, but since I already have somebody here standing here who's willing to pay this price, I'm thinking about taking this. All right. And then last one is a program that I wanted to fill you guys in on. So we started using this new company, Celebrity Agent, and we're going to start opening up, doing more mailers, hunting for more sellers, because we're trying to be a catalyst for more homes hitting the market. And so anytime you might have a buyer who you're shopping with, if they fit these 5 things, we can do a mailer for them to help find them a home, because there might not be the right property already in the market. So if you have a buyer who's pre-approved, you have a buyer of agreement, they already know the location they want to be in, so like a general neighborhood, they're ready to move forward immediately if the right home presented itself. So it's not like they're living in South Carolina still and they still have to sell their home and before they can buy, and it has to be like they're ready to buy right now. And if they're realistic with their price, then we will send these mailers on their behalf. And so this company, Celebrity Agent, actually makes these mailers for us. They write custom letters for each buyer. And what they'll do is they'll create a story behind the buyer and write it as if it was the buyer was actually the one writing the mailer. And then they'll mail it on our behalf. And so then all inquiries will go then to the agent. And so I've seen this done already a few times now. And the response we've gotten is crazy. Like, people are calling and texting like, hey, I'm not selling, but I just wanted to thank you so much for a nice letter. Like, people are saying things like that. It's very, very custom, very, very nice, soft touch. And it's really helping people consider these ideas. So you guys can kind of read through this one, but you can see this one talks about like, it's been a joy raising our children and watching them spread their wings. And like, it's talking about their family and how much they're, excited to be in this cozy sanctuary by the sea. Like, all these like really, really nice way of saying things. And it's portraying it in a way that's going to make them just a little bit easier than just like, hey, let me buy your house. It's telling them a little story of like why this person is worthy of their home. So what we're going to be having is we're going to be launching a master type form, and on it is going to be a marketing selection. So to submit for one of these in the future, what you'll do is click on the marketing button, and then one of the options will be a letter for I have a buyer, and then you'll be able to order it through that. So All right. Next is Fellow. So Fellow is a seller nurturing program that we utilize. And so here on this right-hand side is what the dashboard looks like for your clients that are on Fellow. So anybody who gets input on CR Interactive automatically gets put into our Fellow nurture system. So what Fellow really is it's a automatic valuation tool. It's basically the same exact thing that Zestimate is. It's going to give them their home estimate, and they have the ability to ask for a free rental analysis. They have the ability to contact you, see how their home value has trended over a little bit of time. And then it also gives them like equity calculator down here. And then it'll also like show like actually how the recent home sales were calculated, which homes were being considered when they're estimating the price. And so every single person who you put in CR Interactive automatically is getting emailed nurture things that are clearly like a automated response type email. And then these people are then, if they click on the email to get their home value, you guys are getting notified. So a lot of you probably have already seen this. Like Spencer gets a ton of them. I've seen a bunch of other people get a bunch. When you talk to these people, it doesn't necessarily mean, hey, I'm ready to sell tomorrow. What it means is I'm interested in my home value, which means I'm probably going to be interested in selling or refinancing at some point in the near future because I'm wanting probably to tap into that equity. Yeah, Jen.
So I got this notification yesterday from the first client I sold a house to. So I called him today and he is interested in selling the house that I sold him. And I have a meeting with him next week.
See, that's amazing. Thanks for sharing that. So that's the power of Fellow, guys. And it's working these leads for us. It's emailing them multiple times per month with different messages that match how the market is. And it's just getting them to go check on their home value. It also allows them to like request a cash value, like if an investor were to buy their house, what a cash buyer would pay. It gives a home value report. And then it also gives them the ability to ask for a CMA. So like, hey, I want a custom CMA. And it's trying to trigger the exact conversation that Jen just had. Like, hey, I'm starting to look at it. Let's start talking. So also on Fellow is you can create landing pages to utilize to drive traffic to find home sellers. So this is great to utilize in like social media. You can on your Instagram account, they just opened it up to have multiple links on your description. So it used to be you can only have one link. Now you can have more than one. So what I recommend every single person does is have your buyer site on there so that people can click on it to start viewing homes. And then also have a landing page for a home valuation. So that way they can come see what their home value is. And so that way, if they click on that link, they come through, enter their address, it automatically submits to you, and then you can prepare them a CMA and start the conversation. And then so in order to get there, you just sign into your Fellow account, click on marketing, and then under landing pages, you have your account and personal, and you're able to create landing pages in there. It also allows you to customize the URL and do different things. So you can start utilizing this tool to not only nurture your sellers, but to find new people who are looking for home valuation as well.
Can you put that on a barcode too, like that link?
Yeah. So if you if you right click any website, it'll allow you to create a QR code from it. And so like for Jen and Austin, they're doing a farming neighborhood. We're sending postcards monthly, and the QR code on those postcards is going to these home values lead captures. So it's great to do on postcards. It's great to do on flyers when you're door knocking. It's great to have at open houses, all that type of stuff, because at open houses, half your visitors are going to be neighbors. So you can get them this information like, hey, scan the QR code and see what your home value is. This is what a sample of what the landing page looks like for you. Very simple, very easy for them to enter. Okay, so then now when you get somebody who actually inquires, so you don't want to treat these people like they are automatically bottom of the funnel just because they looked at their home value. It's very normal for people to look at their home value when they're in the research phase. So you want to treat them more so like top of the funnel. And so the best way to do that is to start a conversation with, hey, I saw you just recently completed a home value request. What were your thoughts on the value? Was it too high? Was it too low? Or just about right? Because we're not trying to like pester them with like, hey, I know you want to sell, let's sell, because then you come off as a salesperson, right? You want to be consultative, talk to them. You want to see what their thoughts were on their value and see if it was in line with what they're hoping. And then from there, they're going to be more open to the conversation. If you call somebody and say, hey, I saw you inquired, do you want to sell your house? You're going to get the stiff on almost every time, unless it's like, they're like, no, yeah, like I need to sell tomorrow. So you utilize a more of a conversational approach. And if they say too low, I can appreciate that with these evaluations. They identify different specs and comps in the area, but do not take into account the like your updates and your finishes and your overall special features. Or out of curiosity, what do you think the home is? So like, again, like, look at, we're just trying to create and foster a conversation. If they think it's too high, that's amazing, because now that's higher than what they were expecting. That means their home is worth more than they thought it was. They might be thinking about it more than they would have been right before getting that home valuation. So if you could sell it for that much, would you consider it? Like, they might be like, yeah, that's my make me move price. I'm going to retire if I can sell my house for that much. I'm moving to Florida. And if it's just about right, it's going to be just very straightforward. It's great. We're very excited about this new home valuation tool. Have you had any thoughts about selling? Like, always end with a question to keep the conversation going. So as you guys start getting more and more people in your database, you're going to start getting more and more of these notifications. Make sure you reach out to them right away and ask them what they thought of the value. Too high, too low, or just right. Get a conversation going on it. And then once you get in the conversation, you can start talking a little bit more about the motivation. So just out of curiosity, what had you looking at that? Are you looking to buy, sell, or refinance? And then always just trying to book the appointment. Ultimately, the appointment is what you want. If they were just curious, ask them, if you could sell your home off market and it made financial sense, would you consider it? Because remember, a lot of people just don't want to list their home. They don't want to go through that work. If they are interested, then try to get that appointment right away. And if they just want to see the valuation, that's okay too. And then kind of start exploring about like, at what point would they consider selling? Is there a price they would consider selling at? Investors. My prediction is that based upon the low inventory market, is that I think that we're eventually going to get some government intervention. They're going to step in and put in place some tax rules or laws that are going to be a catalyst for more listings. And my expectation is that they're going to put that in front of investors. They're probably going to do something where it's like Section 121 exclusion is increased to $1 million as opposed to 500,000. So that means you can sell your home tax-free, capital gains tax-free for up to $1 million instead of 500K. Or they might do something where they do 1031 exchanges extended for a longer period. There's going to at some point have to be something done because the Fed is really trying to control home prices. And as long as the inventory remains how it is, home prices are going to continue to go up, no matter what they do to interest rates. So this is just my prediction. So great investors to get, besides people who are going to be incentivized to sell based on tax incentives, are going to be just fix and flip investors. Anybody who buys a home to make money on it is going to ultimately want to sell it afterwards. And so if you ever want to get fix and flip investors to work with, the best way to do it is to call on people who are already fix and flip investors. So what that looks like is if you see a property that comes on the market and it's like a fixer upper, start watching it. Start maybe like heart it on Redfin or on our website, and then set yourself an alert reminder on MLS. Because if it was a fixer upper, there's a good chance it's going to come back on the market in like 3 to 9 months as a flip. And if it does, then go to forewarn, look up who that investor is, call them and say, hey, I'm a local realtor in San Jose. I saw that you did a beautiful flip at 123 Main Street. I have a couple people who are considering off-market sales. If I were to bring you a property off-market, would you do the transaction with me as your agent? Almost every fix and flip investor is going to say yes. Rarely do fix and flip investors only work with one agent. Almost every time a fix and flip investor will work with the agent that brings them the transaction. So if you're able to dangle it in front of them that you have opportunities and ask them if they would do it, they're almost always going to say yes. And then you can spend your time hunting for those fixer uppers. So then you can spend your time looking for distressed properties. And so looking for distressed properties is really simple. When you're driving around, if you see a home that's boarded up windows or the lawn is grown, the lawn is like 3 feet high or something like that, write down that address and go look them up on Forewarn or send them a mailer and call them. Because these people are usually in distress and they're usually going to be more open to selling. They just don't like have the ability to do it. Maybe they live out of state or something like that. So it's a great way to get in contact with them, and you know that they're going to be a little bit more motivated. So something we'll talk about next week is another person who I really love to call on is for rent by owners. The reason why I love to call for rent by owners so much is because they answer the phone pretty much all the time. So like you don't get in that situation where you're making like 100 dials just to get one person to answer. If you call 10 for rent by owners, probably like 7 of them are going to answer because they're all needing to rent their house. So they have to answer the phone. And so you can kind of draw them in with your first line. It's like, hey, I was calling about the property list online. Is it still available? They're gonna be like, yeah. And they're excited because like they're going to sales mode. They think they're about to sell you. And then you break the bad news is, well, I'm calling because I work with a number of investors in the area. And I was just wondering if you'd ever considered selling the property. So you're kind of getting into these conversations more quickly, and you can get a lot more conversations in a lot shorter period of time. And you can start nurturing people. And if they say, no way, no how, then you say, hey, well, I'm out hunting. They see that you're out hunting. You say, hey, I'm out hunting for people who would sell. If I find anybody, would you like me to send it to you? They're probably going to say yes. And now you have an investor added to your database there. Okay, and then just to finish is Batch Leads is a great resource for all those statistics that we were talking about at the beginning. So log into Batch Leads. You can create lists for absentee owners. Absentee owners are anybody who doesn't live in the property. So they have a mailing address that's different from the property address. That means they're an absentee owner. That means they don't live there. It's most likely a rental or it's a second home. These people are way more likely to sell their homes. And then if you go even a step further, if you have absentee owners that are located out of state, they are way more likely to sell their homes because they have way less emotional attachment to it. And a lot of people who are like that, especially California, like once you move away from California, a lot of people who move away, they're kind of like saying goodbye to California. They're wanting to get away from California and it's tax laws, it's political beliefs. And so usually these are going to be like more conservative people, but they're people who are less tied to being within the state. Another great one is like Diego said, people lived 10 plus years at a property. If you add to that also properties that are 2 stories. So that's when you get into people who are usually a little bit older. There might be empty nesters. They don't want that second story anymore because they want a master bedroom that's on the ground floor. They've already lived there for more than 10 years. And so they're going to be much more likely to sell. People like Melissa said, people who bought in between May of 2020 and April 2022, we know 2/3 of them aren't really happy with the home that they bought. And then one that I really like for right now, specifically for just only Monterey and Santa Cruz, is any second homeowners from the Bay Area. So a lot of people in 2020 and 2021 from the Bay Area bought second homes because their stock portfolio, a lot of those people work for tech companies, their stock portfolio shot through the roof. They shot through the roof in 2020, 2021. So they made a ton of money on their stocks. They sold them and they went and bought second homes. And then their second homes continue to go up in value. So it's a good time to reach out to them and be like, hey, your home's gone up since you purchased it in 2020. Have you thought about cashing out on that investment? A lot of them have thought about cashing on that. They've been called back to work. They're no longer working remote and they no longer really need this. They're not vacationing the same way they were doing it before.